Well, hello again, ladies and gentlemen. This is the sort of second report I'm making on the third week of lockdown. Everything's going all right here, as a matter of fact. In fact, since my last offering to you, my son Joe rang me up and he said I'd gone viral. I said, I haven't got a cough and I haven't got a temperature, nor like that. He said, not coronavirus. He said, you've gone viral on the internet. I said, what does that mean? He said, we've had several hits, people listening to it. I said, how many? He said, 6. I said, what do they say? He said, 2 liked it, 3 didn't like it, and 1 said, for God's sake, stop telling them awful jokes. So I'm quite pleased with myself. How are things going otherwise? Well, Aunt Mary Ann is taken to wearing a face mask. Uncle Bert asked her to, and he said she's never looked better. He doesn't want her to take it off ever. So that's that going along nicely. In fact, on the other theme about the toilet paper and that, about a year ago, the Betterware man sold Mary Ann a toilet brush. He came back about 3 weeks ago and said, would she like to buy another one? And she said, no thanks. She said, Bert gets on with it all right, but she preferred the paper still. Then there's testing. A lot of old testing going on, isn't there? I can remember when Bert and Fred, without telling me, when they were at school, they were caught cheating in an exam. Mr. R.A. Evans Prosser, the headmaster, had him afterwards and said, you've been cheating. They said, no, we haven't. He said, you've been cheating? He said, I got the proof. He said, for question number 1, Fred, you wrote no. And Bert, you wrote no. Well, there's nothing wrong with that, they say. And for question number 2, Fred, you wrote yes. And Bert, you wrote yes. Well, we've both been revising, sir. He said, for question number 3, Fred, you wrote, I don't know. And Bert, you wrote, neither do I. I suppose most of Bert's problems, over the years have been down to his love for drink. He ain't the only one in the village, I know that, but he suffered from alcoholic constipation, which means to say he found great difficulty in passing a pub. And it already came to a scandal when he was had up for drink driving in Ashburton. He was riding his Rudge Whitworth motorbike, and he was stopped by a WPC officer. First one in Devon. She said, I think you've been drinking. He said, no, I haven't. She said, I'll test it. And she drew a chalk line along the road. She said, I want you to walk along that chalk line. He got halfway along and she said, you're staggering. He said, you're not bad looking yourself. Anyhow, enough of this old nonsense. Let's get back to the serious matter. The church is closed. And Bert finds that quite difficult. He has been a church warden and he attends on a regular basis. Indeed, 3 weeks ago, he came back from church with a black eye. And Mary Ann said to him, whatever's the matter, Bert, what have you been up to? He said, I was standing behind Miss Dinnicum, and when we stood up for the creed, I'd noticed that the static electricity between her dress, her drawers and her tights had drawn everything together, and it got ruckled up between her legs. So I leant forward and I pulled it out, and she turned round and hit me in the eye with a copy of the Ancient and Modern. Of course, she said, Bert, you did the right thing. It was bad luck it ended like that, but you've done the right thing. A week later, he came back from church with another black eye. And she said to him, whatever's gone on this time? He said, me and Fred were in church standing behind Miss Dinnicum. And when she stood up again, the static electricity in her dress and everything caught up, and she was caught up again in between her legs. Fred leant forward and pulled that out. And I knew she didn't like that, so I pushed it back up again. Well, that's enough for this week. There'll be more tales at Kingsnympton. All I ask you to do is stay indoors, stay safe, and see you next week.